They're your neighbors, they're people you work with, they're your family, they're my family, they're people that are in our communities that have made some bad decisions.
They're not here to be punished, they're here as punishment. And while they're here, we're trying to help them modify their own behavior by the choices they can make.
We have staff that have dedicated their entire careers to working with individuals in the community to make Maine a better place to live.
Prisoners would be escorted out of a building similar.
I've been with the department for 37 years.
32 years.
42 years.
16 years.
From 72 to 2015.
I started in 84.
1986.
1988.
I was hired in 2001.
When I started 30 some odd years ago, we used detention in a different manner.
Maine State Prison is one of the oldest prisons in the country.
That was part of this community.
When you left Thomaston, when you came back home, the first thing you saw was the prison. It was just a solid economic engine in the town.
As the prison moved into the mid-1900s, the quarry was now a recreational area. It was even used for ice skating.
The place where the prisoners played baseball games with the Thomaston High School.
So you played on that baseball field?
I played one game there in 1957. I was a junior in high school in Thomaston. This is all archival storage. And over here would be where we would have the prison material. Maine State Prison at Thomaston burns. 5 buildings destroyed by blaze.
The prison committee recommended that state prisons should be so constructed that even their aspect might be terrific and appear like what they should be, dark and comfortless abodes of guilt and wretchedness.
If you were bad or broke a rule, you had to walk around with a log, pulling a log with a chain attached to it. You weren't allowed to talk to anybody. It was very, very strict.
The original cells were underground.
When rain or snow came, it would get down in those cells. It really said, you're being punished.
Guards room.
There was no formal training. Senior officer wouldn't walk you around, show you the tricks. You learned by observation and participation. Prisons at the time were torturous places. The environment really wasn't great for the resident population.
There was a period of unrest with the population.
There was a lot of problems prior to lockdown.
Until they started putting people through the Criminal Justice Academy.
Authorities confiscated weapons and instituted new procedures that returned control of the prison to authorities.
It was difficult, but they got it cleaned up and taken back.
This facility used to be an Air Force base. Department of Corrections took it over and opened this as a correctional facility in 1980.
In the 80s, again, a much more relaxed atmosphere. Inmates were still participating in outside the fence programs, work crew programs.
Most of them had a lot of respect for the staff.
In the 2000s, we went back to uniforms and increased authority.
It was a very adversarial relationship.
We had a lot of unhappy residents and staff.
Structures were probably strong, but you couldn't fix anything. And ultimately, the working environment wasn't good for the staff.
The governor at the time elected to close Thomaston. It encountered disrepair.
They thought they would invite local people to come that wanted to go through the prison that was now empty because everybody had been moved over to Warren. And they thought maybe 20, 30, 50 people would show up.
We lost count when it got to over 10,000 people that showed up to tour the facility. So you can just imagine the passion that not only this community had, but the state had towards a fixture for many, many years. Part of the wall that you see behind me actually went down below into a quarry. That is below where the soccer field currently is. It's been put in place in front of it for a park for the community to enjoy, but it's also capturing a piece of the history at the same time.
Historically, corrections has been very male-centric.
They were kept in the administration building, and they had boards that slanted up this way on the windows. The sun could get in, but the men couldn't look in, and the women couldn't look out.
We opened the doors for women to do welding, small engine repair. It was all male-dominated kind of jobs.
The Women's Center opened at the same time the new Maine State Prison was being built. The treatment does look very different than the male counterparts because we know that women come into incarceration for different reasons.
The reformatory for boys was established by some of the citizens of South Portland.
This facility is the only juvenile facility in the state of Maine.
When I started, it was a very old facility, outdated, just a total different than what
what it is today.
Our residents come to us acting out because other needs aren't being met or they're lacking the tools that they need to be successful. And so our goal really is to find out what the tools are that they're missing and provide them those tools so that when they go back into the community, they'll be more successful. All youth have behavioral health and mental health services available, and we hope that we can get them back on track.
We want the young people not only to survive, but thrive once they leave our system.
I like to remind people that we are the original Maine Model of Corrections.
The philosophy has changed dramatically to what's called the Maine Model of Corrections.
It's non-adversarial, it's based on dignity and respect, and it's about outcomes.
Behavior, absolutely. We have a level system here. It's all depending on behavior. This is very rare that residents can come and go.
The language matters. We've been changing from prisoner to resident, for example.
These residents have repainted it. They've done all the work themselves.
It's more normative, it's more humanizing, it's more destigmatizing environment than it was.
Life-changing to have this opportunity to be able to set myself up for a future.
Residents were allowed to invite family to come, and we did a regular Thanksgiving dinner. It's creating that normalcy.
In 2017, we had 87 assaults on staff. Last year, we had 7.
This was our first chance at really having a building that was built specifically for women's reentry. We used every square inch of our footprint. The lawns became raised beds or herb gardens, and the women tend to those so caringly.
In the 1930s, this was one of the biggest beef and pigs and farm animals and land operation in the state of Maine.
So this is our agriculture program in our garden.
22 rows of vegetables. They take a lot of pride in seeing what they've actually produced and brought in.
This year we'll produce about 400,000 pounds of organic produce. 25% of the products are released into the community to food pantries and soup kitchens. I collaborated with the University of Maine Cooperative Extension. To date, we've been able to certify 80 Master Gardener residents.
Residents are trained to become a certified logging professional.
In the woodshop area itself, about 65 residents that work in here. Everything you see in here are paid for through sales and there's a showroom.
Most of our stuff is woodcraft based. We also have upholstering and metal products.
There are very few correctional facilities in the country that sell to the public.
Oh, perfect. Smell this.
We do white bread and wheat bread and yeast rolls, and we donate them to our local food pantries.
We have people getting their associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, masters, and we have residents that are getting PhDs while incarcerated.
Just because they're locked up, it doesn't mean that they're worthless.
The question becomes, what kind of a neighbor do you want?
I feel like I have a great opportunity to make a true impact in the lives of fellow Mainers here.
When they leave here with skills, that makes for a safer community.
When a young person comes back to the community, probation terms are for a set amount of time.
Parole was abolished in the state of Maine in 1976. Probation is only for a certain number of years, depending on the class of the offense. The more people that succeed on probation, the less likely they are to be incarcerated.
The ultimate goal is that when they're done with probation period, that they're better off in the long run.
It's better for victims as well. And that's a big component of the Maine Model of Corrections. We can't forget the victims.
We ensure that victims' rights and services are offered and enforced, and we want to make sure that we're in compliance with the statute.
Individuals come into our care for 100 different reasons.
Mental health, substance use disorder, trauma, poverty, neglect, learning disabilities, all of those things.
You put an officer in there that's regulated, that's trauma-informed, so that they feel heard.
Nationally, it's about a 65% recidivism rate. In Maine, we have a 23% return to custody rate for adult males, 9% return to custody rate for adult women. With individuals that participate in our college program, it's about 0.05%.
With the Maine Model of Corrections, we're making a difference for the residents.
The staff are critical in carrying out the Maine Model of Corrections. They are the ones that are on the ground making sure day to day that the environment's safe. They're really the backbone and they're the key to the success of our operation.
If the staff model those key core values of our mission and the Maine Model of Corrections as a whole, that's going to allow for residents to really hopefully see a different light on their time while they are incarcerated.
The tough days are really tough. The good days are really good.
How are you?
If you get one success story, it's worth doing this job.
Watching people get well is amazing, and I get a front row seat for that, so why would I want to be anywhere else?
I feel like working towards improving anyone's life is a task worthwhile doing.